this is good. Okay, so look at how wonderful that is. In this video, I'll show you my full routine as to how I make naturally fermented sodas at home. From my ginger bug refresh, the sugar ratios I use when making naturally fermented sodas, and how I bottle and let them ferment. Now, during this video, I did have a section where I had to troubleshoot. The previous bottle, so 2 sodas ago from this one, it didn't ferment. It was a dud. And so through this video, I'll also show you how to troubleshoot for when a soda doesn't work and what you can do to fix it. So without further ado, let's get started. Oh, that's good. All right, so let's do an easy, no hassle apple soda. Now you can use ginger bug if you like. I have an apple bug going right here. And this is what it looks like. And so I've got good bubble formation, and this is at the tail end of its bubbliness. And so I'm just gonna use it. And I like to use, and so I'm giving you like the easy version of how to make a soda. I have an active ginger bug, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out the solids, and I'm going to add like all but 2 spoonfuls of this little jar to this, and then I will give it more apple core and like 2 spoonfuls of sugar, and I'll fill it back up with water. That's about it. And then this, so what'll happen is this will be refed. So I'll refeed it, kind of like a sourdough, like a sourdough starter. And then this, I'll have about like maybe this much ginger bug, apple bug, wild yeast bug, whatever. And then I'll do maybe like this much apple juice, this much water, and I'll let it sit out, and that'll be it. All right, so at first I'm just taking out, and so like as I start, you can see, well, maybe I need a better microphone, but like you can hear the bubbles popping. So these guys are spent, you can throw them out, but you're going to want more flavor, more. So if I were to do a ginger bug or an apple bug and I only ever did like sugar and water, your bug, first of all, it's not gonna last a long time because it needs more yeast. But then also it's gonna lack flavor and it's gonna last new yeast products. So you do want to give it something to eat on. So I'm gonna, cut up an apple real quick. For that, just pour basically almost all of it. So I've got about like this much left, about that much, an inch or 2, and then I've got about that much left. And those are just apple seeds, whatever. All right, so next. Regular farm fresh apple. It's got all the good yeast on its skin. And all I'm doing is I'm just cutting this baby up. Got the core, cut it down the middle. And then I'll just like cut up like a little section of the apple so that there is some yeast that's from the apple skin that can get onto the apple. And then the rest is a snack for the chef. So I got about that much apple in there, and then technically I could fill this sucker with apple juice, and I'm gonna do a little bit of apple juice because I do want there to be a little bit of flavor, but I want this mainly for my drink. All right, this is just gonna get a regular spoonful of sugar, and then I'm just going to top it off with a little bit of water. And this is me feeding my, you could call it a ginger bug. It's an apple bug. It's kind of the same thing. Easy. You don't need to have a lot of liquid. The only thing that you're doing, this is your inoculation. That's it. It doesn't need to be this like big jar of something really flavorful with, a ton of bubbles. It just needs to be a little thing where the yeast has enough sugar, enough water, and it has a constant flavor source, so that the sugars have something to eat on. And I like to do mine this way so that I can see what's going on right here. I'll just do one of those, and it's just gonna go on the counter. All right, next, so I've got my little amount of wild yeast bug, and I'm just gonna pour in my apple juice. So I've got about this much in here. I'm going to fill it up to about maybe here. So one thing you want to keep in mind is that a lot of sodas, kind of like wine, you're going to have like a dry to a sweeter wine. Same thing, you can have a dry to a sweeter type of soda. And usually your sweet spot, your equally sweet yet effervescent and enjoyable mouthfeel wise is around 7% carbs, or 7%, not carbs, but of a sugar solution. So basically your soda is a flat, sugary soda base that you add an active wild yeast to. And so apple juice is about like 10 grams. It's about 10%. I could do straight apple juice into this and it would be just fine. But it usually results in like really overly carbonated, so you get like a geyser. And so it's nice to have you reduce the amount of sugar by just diluting it with water. And so I'll fill this up maybe 2/3 the way up. Oh, that's about right. And this will give you just a really nice apple flavor. This will give you a really nice apple flavor, yet it will still carbonate and it will be a yummy drink to have. Now use a funnel if you need one. And here I need to pay attention to my water level, so I'm going to use my funnel. And this is the amount that I have. Put your flip top down on it. Give it a good shake. Distribute the wild yeast. Distribute the sugars from the apple juice. You can add in more sugar if you want. It'll carbonate it more if you want. This is just what I do. It's easier to do. If not, if I'm doing more of like an herby tea type of infusion thing, it's your blank non-sweetened tea, and you add your active bug, 3 tablespoons at least of sugar to your flip top bottle, and then you top it off with like your neutral flavor base, like a green tea that's not sweetened, or like a boiled cinnamon nutmeg situation. And so now I am going to leave this out on the counter, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch right here for bubbles coming up. If your ginger bug was stored in the fridge and it had been sleeping with like the lid on, it's sleeping and it's put away, you will need to oxygenate it, because the yeast will be too asleep and they'll need more sugar to wake him back up, but they'll also need oxygen to breathe, because they are releasing off CO2 gas. They're not producing oxygen, they're breathing in oxygen and releasing CO2 gas. So if you want to make a soda from a refrigerated ginger bug or any other kind of wild yeast bug, you do need to let it do it. You need to give it a new sugar source like this, and then you need to oxygenate it. And so what I mean is, like, you would do literally this exact same thing that I literally just did from a refrigerated one, but you would leave it open like this, like this situation, with this open for 8, 10, 12 hours. And then you'd look at it, you stir it up real nice, you get that bubble activation, and then it'll ferment. If you were to go straight from a refrigerated to here, close it off, no oxygen really incorporated, it won't work. But if you were to open it, shake it up, let it breathe, the yeast will reactivate. So you do want to keep that in mind. So now we start the clock. It's about 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. And so I'm just going to go to bed, and then tomorrow morning, I'll look to see about the little bubbles that are coming up. And the bubbles that are here right now, if they're just agitation bubbles, they don't mean anything. So don't take that as a parameter, as a proxy for, oh, this is going to work. They're just agitation bubbles. It doesn't count. So meet back here in a little bit. All right, so hi, we are not next day. We are 2 days later. And what happened is I found that my ginger bug was, or my apple bug, was slightly too older. And so my yeasts were too far on one end and they were needing a lot of oxygen to ramp back up. And so what happened was yesterday, I went to my soda and I popped it and it was flat. It was still, there were agitation bubbles, but there wasn't much activity going on, even though I know for a fact that there are yeast cultures in here. And I popped it and it's flat. What happened? Troubleshooting. This is the thing that went wrong. There wasn't enough oxygen for the yeasts to feed on. And so when this happens, you have to you have to spend the day. So we're 2 days later. And you can see there's clear activity now. And so what I had to do yesterday is I had to spend the day popping it, turning it over, mixing it up, aerating the thing. I could have put it into the same type of like open jar with a cloth situation to get more airflow, but I already had this in a bottle. So I just popped it open, turned it around and kept it going. And then I did that the entire day yesterday. And so if you have a dud soda, do that. And I maybe popped it open 4 times yesterday. I just did it when I was walking past it just to aerate the thing. Because I knew for a fact that there was enough sugar to create a soda, and I knew for a fact that there were yeast in here, and the missing factor was oxygen. And so because the yeast, these gas bubbles, these are CO2 gas bubbles, and the yeast are creating respiration. They're using oxygen to create CO2. Oh, the joys of living next to a French church. Can you see that? That's what I get for living next to a French church. Okay. So this is turning into a troubleshooting video, which is perfectly fine. It happens. It's a skill that you need to acquire through experience. And people don't make sodas because they find them to be difficult. They're not difficult when you understand yeast metabolism and yeast sugar preferences, water preferences, and how they metabolize. It does need oxygen. And so I'm trying to, through this video and maybe through this playlist that I'll end up creating, demystifying what it is to make a yummy and consistent soda. And when you hit a roadblock, because you will, and you should, how to troubleshoot. So that's what this video is turning into. And so it has also been 2 days for my ginger bug, and ta-da, there are still bubbles. I'll give you a top-down view. So here there are bubbles clearly, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna stir this up. You can hear that awesome yeast activity, and this, I would just do the exact same procedure for my soda. So what I would do is I would use most of this liquid in a new soda, or maybe in like an alcohol or whatever kind of concoction I'm making. And then I would fill it back up with water, a spoonful of sugar, and I would replace these little pieces of apple when they start to get a little bit too brown. This is still kind of fine here. When they really get to be really dark, well, not really dark, but when they really start to get to be a little bit too dark, I will replace them. But this activity right here is fine. I should use now, or put a lid on it and refrigerate it. All right, so this I popped maybe like 5 minutes ago through filming, and you can see there are still gas bubbles rising up. And this is my only way of being able to show you how my gas bubbles are rising. But let's pop this so you get a better idea. Yeah, and I'm gonna lid that. Ah! And all of the solids that you're seeing right here, these are just like apple solids. They have just come up through the thing. It's perfectly fine. It's not hurting anyone. And you can tell there is effervescence throughout the whole thing. Hang on. It's a little bit harder to see. It's cloudier down at the bottom. And so what will happen is you'll have a clearer solution up here, and you'll have more of your solids down here. So it'll be, technically it'll be a bit murkier down here, but that's perfectly fine and to be expected. All right, so now what? Now that I have my, what I thought was a dead dud soda that did not work, and I have, you know, popped the lid, I've aerated it, and I've given the yeast the oxygen that they require in order to make bubbles. Now I'm going to crash it, and I'm going to, what that means is put it into the refrigerator for it to settle down and chill. And I may want to actually let this thing breathe a little bit more, so I might pop this again until the bubbles are less aggressive. And so, hang on, maybe, so this aggressiveness, if I were to put this in the fridge now, I get the same aggressiveness or a little bit calmer from my soda when I pull it out to serve it. And so because I don't want my guests, because I'm, you know, having friends over, to witness a soda explosion, I'm going to degas this so that I let a lot of the gas out, because it will continue to ferment in the fridge and the gas will still build up. You're just releasing excess pressure. And so and so I'm just gonna, so what I'll do is I'll let this breathe. I'll wipe the bottle down. It's fine. I'm not losing anything. But all of this that's coming up right now, you can see the amount of activity that's coming up out of this. This would have happened when I served it. And so I do want it to breathe. When this has finished being dramatic, I will lid it again, I'll put it in the fridge, and then once it is completely chilled, it'll be ready to be served. Smells apple. It smells good. All right, so I do still have bubbles rising, quite a lot actually, but this is a lot more calm. And so I'm going to refrigerate this. I'm going to wash the bottle. I'm just gonna run it under the water. I'm just gonna run this under the water to clean it off, and then I'll put this in the fridge to sit and chill overnight, or for at least 8 hours. All right, so hi, we are officially actually next day. I have pulled this out of the fridge, and as I'm looking at it right now, I'm still seeing like pinpoint little tiny bubbles rising to the top. So it is a sign that it is still fermenting even when it is in the fridge. The refrigerator is a fermentation slowing machine, not a fermentation stopping machine. So yes, your ferments do continue in the fridge. I'm a little bit nervous. This might be, I don't think it's going to be a geyser, but I think it's going to be a very active ferment. But I am hoping to be surprised and delighted with how, let's say, pourable this will be. And so, so one thing that I do want to say is that if it is too active, you have to let it breathe and decant, kind of like how you would for a wine. And if you are to drink an overly active soda, it has a higher chance of just causing an upset stomach. And it's easily solved by just waiting for it to breathe and air out, and then pouring and having and drinking it with less carbonation. All right, so got my little glass. I'm a little afraid. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is really good, actually. Okay, so hang on, let me... Look at how wonderful that is. And it is very slowly creeping up. So this is a great sign that it's successful. Hang on, let me lid that real quick. So this is what we are looking at, and there's a beautiful head on it. Look at how pretty that is. I just love fermentation. All right, so I am truly delighted with how well this turned out. And this is awesome because this I thought was a dud. I was going to, in the past, when I had less experience, I would have thrown this out because I was like, oh, it just didn't work. Pour it down the drain. I'm getting an awesome soda out of this, and it's going to be, I know it's going to be delicious. So, and what is nice about a well-fermented soda is that it'll give you a very fine bubble effervescence, very fine carbonation, and it won't be like overwhelming to senses. And this is my apple one, and maybe there's like a root beer float kind of situation that could happen. But in any case, homemade fermentations are awesome and have a lot of nutrition to them. Yeast do physically produce B vitamins. Oh my goodness, the amount of bubbles coming out of this thing. I love this. Okay, let's pour. Ready? Beautiful, beautiful. You could absolutely use these as flavorings, and I have used my apple soda in like a, are you ready? I did a pumpkin onion sweet potato soup and cooked it and then deglazed it with this soda. Oh, it was super good. It was super good. Okay, let's taste. Let's taste. First, let's look at it. You're getting good bubbles throughout and that are still coming up. When you are smelling a soda, it will smell slightly yeasty, but you want to go off more of the mouthfeel as well. Oh, that's so good. Oh, that's so good. I like how even though it's diluted apple juice, it still has a really apple-forward flavor. So this is really good. And there is that carbonation, I want to say texture to it, but it's not overwhelming. So it's just really nice. What an easy, wonderful drink. I love that. That's a success. This is how I troubleshoot a supposedly dead soda into one that is alive and has worked. All right, so some other things that I do want to just mention, just because it is helpful and I have done it. There is my fruits, carbohydrates from fruit guide that's on my website that tells you about the carbohydrate count from each individual fruit. This is what I use when I'm doing a fruit soda. You can get it on my website if you want. You don't need to get it. But if not, you just look up the carbohydrate percentage that you're getting from the juice that you're using. And also, because I did technically go to culinary school, I ended up making, and I live in France, and I do really like baking. I have this gram baking equivalency sheet that I use all the time for, and so it goes from 1 cup all the way down to 1 teaspoon in the gram equivalency of that. And so, for example, if you need sugar and you need maybe a certain gram amount, you just go to that corresponding cup measurement and you just use that. Or you're trying to translate a US recipe into a gram recipe, so that it can be more consistent. You would just plug it in, and I've done this so many times. And so and here's my bug, because that's what we're interested in, and so you can see the bubbles in that. So how about I give you a top down? All right, so this is what my bug that we made previously in the video, this is what this one is looking like. And these apple pieces, they're dead. And so when I'll make another soda. And so what I'll do is I'll make another soda using this. and it's a little bit more alive now, so it should work a little bit better than this one that was a dud. Because so for this soda, my bug was, maybe it was like 3 days past its prime. It was a little bit old, but this one is relatively fresh, so I will be able to get a good soda out of this one easily. And I will replace the apple chunks in here for fresh ones, so that I'm not working with just like overly soggy material and ingredients. So that's about it. If you have questions on soda making, I will say that soda making, you get good at it the more you do it. You have to just do more of it. I would say if you're new, just start. Just start and troubleshoot as you go. You'll figure it out. It's easy. If you're interested on how to make a gingerbug, I have that on my YouTube channel already. And so I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you have questions on sodas, and if you want to learn more, please let me know in the comment section below. My name is Matthew Cress of Cress Dietetics, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.